Well, welcome to this Hangout on Air session. We have a wonderful group of educators gathered here today to talk a little bit more about computational thinking. And for those of you who are watching, thanks for joining. My name is Tina Orndorff. I'm a program manager at Google and involved with different aspects of the course. So to begin with, we're going to just go ahead and introduce these fine people. And then after that, I'm going to ask the panel a few questions. Just for those of you who are watching online, if we have enabled the Q&A feature, so if you wanted to ask some questions of the participants, we'll get to those at the end. All right, so with that, let's go ahead and start with introductions. Vikram, why don't you go ahead and introduce?
Hi, I'm Vikram Kuntal from Learning Links Foundation. I take care of GG South, Google Educators Group South. I'm a senior trainer with Learning Links Foundation. So I have conducted one face-to-face city MOOC orientation for the educators, and also oriented 3 of the GG leads.
Great. And how about Shubha? Let's go with, please introduce yourself. Let's go with Shaylee. Sorry, we weren't able to hear the previous speaker. Okay, we're just going to keep going down the line here. Jimmy, how about you? You're on mute.
Okay.
There you go.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
It's nice to be here in this session. Thank you. And then I come from India, and I'm responsible for great programs in India. So computational thinking is one of it. So the primary takeaway from this session is going to be discussed with everybody in India here. And educators in India is really keen to implement computational thinking learnings to their classrooms. So looking forward to hear more from everybody.
Thank you. Thanks, Jimmy. Jean, let's go with you.
Hi, my name's Jane Waite. I'm here in England, and I'm very excited to talk to you about what's going on in terms of computational thinking, particularly in primary, so that's with younger pupils. I've worked on a couple of projects authoring materials with the Department for Education on computational thinking and implemented that in my own classroom. So that's me.
Great, thanks. And next, Yalpa. Let's see, you're on mute. Oh, there we go. Let's see. I think you're still muted. Okay, well, while we're waiting for Yalpa, you can jump in, Yalpa. Let's go with Genevieve.
Hi everyone, I'm Genevieve, and I run Ready Soul to Code, which is a creative computer science education company. I was a A-level computer science, so A-level is pre-university, so I did kind of the level above Jane up to university level. And so I apply a STEAM approach to computer science education, and I was one of the Google Rise Award recipients for 2014 with the Art of Computer Science, and actually 2 days ago we just did the second ballet performance of Data Storm, which is all about internet theory, and we use projection mapping and data visualization and wearable tech, and they're turned into classroom resources that everyone else can use. So I ran some workshops at the Royal Institute in London. So I take the huge ballet project and then break it down so you can use it in your classroom.
Oh,
So,
awesome.
so yeah, so the video of the performance will be up when it's finished uploading to YouTube.
Great.
Sometime tonight.
So let's try Yalpa again.
Tina, am I audible now?
Yes, we can hear you. Great.
Yeah, I'm Jalpa Shah, Gurgaon, India. We were introduced to this whole concept by Jimmy and team. Since then, we are trying to work on the same. Like I teach senior grade, class 11th and 12th. Somewhat I've understood the concept, have designed few lesson plan. But when now we intend to take it to our middle grade teachers. So like what I felt, it is a wonderful concept. Like when Jimmy initially introduced, we felt that, oh, we are doing this, but it was in more in a structured way. Through computational skill, it came in a more structured way through which it can be implemented. But then the challenges which we are facing is like when we go to the middle grade, and when we spoke about it, like principal has now assigned me this, like to carry it forward further. So it was like they could not connect somewhere because of they felt especially in the class strength being 30 to 35 when time is limited. So they were asking for some sample activities. Of course, lots of material is available with all the resource kits which have gone through, which is there on the website. So like at Lotus Valley, now we intend to do is that I plan to create small lesson plans, sample lesson plans for each subject, and then put it forward so that it can go in a right way, so that nobody disconnects. Because the problem is that if one is disconnected, then the association and implementation is difficult. So that is how we have thought that we are going to cater to the challenges which we are facing. And rest I would keep on sharing between the session. I have few more queries also which I would like to take further with everybody.
Oh, okay, great. Well, welcome. And then we're going to, lastly, the folks in South Africa.
Okay.
I think he's still muted, so at the top.
Right.
We can hear you. Oh. No, now it's muted. There we
Can
go.
you see us now?
Yes, you're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are we good? Right. Sorry, we at the bottom end of Africa, and this is very new to us. I'm a deputy headmaster in a little place called East London, at a school, an all boys school in South Africa, a Selborne Primary, and with me I've got one of my staff members. We were actually introduced to this through Karen Walstrad from Google South Africa, and as I say, it's very new for us. We are Sarah's husband is also one of our staff members, and we are looking at doing the actual course at the moment, and we are working on our assignments to be submitted by the 30th of September. We are going to look at trying to implement this in some other way into our school curriculum for next year, and we could be basically looking at possibly going through the lab and setting assignments within our lab situation as well, also within our classes, because we are a Google school and we use all the Google Apps for Education suite right across our whole spectrum from grade 4 to 7, which is basically our middle school area. So as I say, it's new to us. We're fortunate that we could be in on this Hangout to actually listen and hear what's going on. And yeah, there are many folk that are already way advanced. But I think if we do start sort of at the bottom where we are at the moment and introduce it, it's going to be a very, very positive thing for our boys. And it's going to create thinkers, which I think the world definitely needs. I'm just going to pass on to Sarah. She can just introduce herself. My nickname's Peppy, and I think everybody can just call me Peppy. And I'm going to introduce you to Sarah.
Great.
Yeah, so as we said, my name's Sarah, and so people have pretty much said everything. You know, it is very new, but we are very enthusiastic and want to take in as much as possible at the moment. So, yeah.
Okay. Great. Well, thanks for all of the introductions. And now I just wanted to ask a few questions, and by all means, you can maybe I'll ask one of you to start with an answer, but then feel free to join in the conversation. So, firstly, I wanted to talk a little or ask a little bit for those of you who've already been implementing computational thinking into your class. I wanted to get a little bit more information about exactly how you're doing that, and maybe if you can describe some of the ways you are and also the ways your colleagues are. And how about, Jane, if we start with you?
Hi, yes, so I can talk about the very simple resources that have been created by myself and the colleagues. So a really simple thing is for spelling. So when children are learning the rules to spell words, then the process of working out what is most important with abstraction, so you're ignoring detail. And we use lots of Makaton as well for the different signs, which I can point you towards. So we've got different signs for algorithms and decomposition. So anyway, such as a spelling rule, so we abstract to decide what are the most important parts of a spelling rule is, and then we decompose the problem into parts in order to create a rule. Well, we actually look for patterns, so we're looking for generalization, and then we create a rule which is a type of algorithm. Now, all of that lot sounds very complicated, but the teachers are being introduced to the underlying computational thinking concepts, so that then as they are delivering a lesson, which is not a computer science lesson as such, it's actually an English or literacy lesson, they've got in the back of their mind, well, actually, this is computer science and it's computational thinking, and they are realizing that the problem-solving approaches used just in English, or in fact any lesson, are these basic computational thinking concepts. And that's been rolled out through different approaches or different resources, such as the Barefoot set of resources that were commissioned by the Department for Education, which are free to anybody in the world. And I've put the link in the forum for the computational thinking course. And you can just sign up for free and download the resources. There are maths activities, history activities, geography activities, science activities. So it's the idea that actually several people have mentioned about it being across a curriculum, so it's not just in computer science. And I've seen my children do those kind of activities, and it's great fun.
Yeah, and we are encouraging all the students who are participating in the course as well to share some of their final projects, especially the ones they're having great success with. And also, I think it's a great opportunity by utilizing the community for the course to get feedback on and to collaborate with your peers on some of the lessons, because while some are brand new to computational thinking, others like yourself, Jane, are a little bit more experienced. So I think that kind of back and forth really lends itself well to creating the best resources for the students we're teaching. Jimmy, would you like to talk a little bit about how you're implementing computational thinking into your classroom, or maybe describe how your colleagues have done the same?
Yeah, so here I would just like to tell everyone that in India right now we have at a stage wherein teachers are being connected with this concept, and I'm getting continuous feedback from each one of them. In fact, one of the teacher who's a geography teacher has shared with me that she's trying to make one of the concept very interesting using this computational thinking. So basically she's broken down the complete lesson into a very structured approach, and now she's going to come up with a concrete lesson plan which can be a reference for everybody in the community to use. So more on and off we are getting feeds from everybody that no ways that they were doing it, but one way or the other in the classroom, but the only thing was this, that it wasn't structured the way now they feel that it can structure it, you know. So this is a common feedback I'm getting from each one of them. In fact, I would definitely ask Jalpa even to elaborate, because when I was with her teachers in that session that day, in fact, Jalpa was the first person who came up with a very strong lesson plan. And she, being a chemistry teacher, I found her, designing the lesson plan there and then. And that was, she was even getting ready with her project, even in the first day of the induction which was happening. So Jalpa, if you can elaborate, that will be really nice, because I would like you to discuss that particular project which you were designing on that training day. That will be really great. Over to you, Jalpa. Jalpa, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, Jimmy, thank you. I hope I'm audible.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, in the like on the first year of training, then I started applying it with my own subject, and chemistry being a the subject where I could easily find the topics wherein I could link the concept of computational skills. Some of the topics like orbitals, chemical bonding could be well explained. So I had prepared my lesson plan and I understood how the entire process has to be followed. But then like in I was I mostly teach class 11th and 12th, and there we have time constraints and many other things being a board class. So I was, because the whole concept was very good, so I wanted to take it to grassroots level. So that's how this idea came up. And like we are taking a very important project. It is like making Lotus Valley a sustainable school. With respect to so our problem which we identified is which are the areas in which we would want our school to be sustainable, that is air, waste, water. So these are 4 5 parameters which we had identified with our learners. And then it was like taking each parameter and identifying like where does Lotus Valley stand with respect to air, with respect to water. So through series of steps, defining a pattern or analyzing a pattern. Through simple audit, a learner would be able to find out as where is school currently with respect to air, where is it with respect to waste, where is with respect to water. So we are working on it, and I have mapped certain parameters. After child works on this 5 6 concept, at the end he would be able to generate a report for the school as where does the school stands with respect to air, water, and waste. And then the whole group sits together, and the learner who is working on air, the learner who is working on waste, all of them sits together, and then they will identify what is the similarity, what are the problems, which the school is facing in with respect to its parameter to make it a more sustainable school. And then after, through brainstorming session, a mitigation plan would be designed which would be suitable with respect to school infrastructure so as to improve the scores. So this is a big project which school intend to take, and we thought like since we have done this training, let us try to implement it, because I firmly believe any new concept should be reinforced, should be used. So in this project, we try to inculcate the teaching pedagogy as computational skills, and we have created something. It's in the form of the presentation, which I can share on the community if anybody would want to see as how we intend to take the same. So I don't know. We are just trying. But I'm pretty confident that it will click, and it is like making people believe that it works. Then it eventually works, and I know it is going to work. It will take time, but we are working on it.
Yeah, I appreciate your confidence.
Ma'am, one more thing, Jimmy. Here I want to tell the other training which you have given us, GG training. We are using that also. All our surveys and audits would be through Google Apps, no manual work. So that is one implementation which we are going to integrate. So we are going to integrate everything what we are learning and make it successful.
Thank you, Jalpa.
Yeah, I thanks so much. I appreciate your enthusiasm and your attitude about we'll make it work no matter what. That's always the wonderful aspect of teachers, is that no matter the challenge, the attitude is sometimes everything that is all that you need to get started and get others to join in what you're doing. So let's see. I wanted to give Vikram also a chance to speak. And so Vikram, for you, a slightly different question, which would be, what are some of the challenges that you faced with computational thinking and getting other colleagues to better understand that they're probably already using computational thinking across the subject areas that they're teaching?
Yeah. Basically, I train the educators. The One of the challenge I faced was there were teachers of arts and crafts, dance, and other extracurricular activities like PT, physical education, and all. So, how computational thinking concept uh, could be applied in those areas? So that was the one of the challenge actually. So I was just exploring few of the lesson plans and all, but I really could not get enough stuff for those things. So if you could, if the team could, help me with that, it would be really great.
Yeah, and
Languages?
Genevieve, you've had some great luck using computational thinking in non-traditional topics, so to speak. So do you want to elaborate a little bit more about that work as well?
Yeah, so can you hear me?
Yeah.
Cool, great, yeah. So obviously for me, I was teaching a very traditional A-level. So we did the computer science A-level, and then I also taught software development and games design. So you can imagine most of my students were boys. So one of the ways that we got the students to apply a more computational approach was to get them to organize events. So they ran a whole citywide one-day hack event for all of Year 10. That was the whole Brighton and Hove City. And then what I wanted to show was that actually a lot of people, and so because there was no boys in my classes, and that included, I had one girl at GCSE, which is Year 10 and 11, and then in years 12 and 13, I had no girls. And we had 75 students across the 2 year groups. So I kind of wanted to show that actually art is a really good way and safe way to use computational thinking with computer science, because people go, oh my God, computer science is really scary, and it's only for people who who sit in their basement on their own and don't talk to anyone with no social skills. And actually I found that from my family and they all work in teams. Everybody's kind of quite sociable, and you might get people who are not very good communicators, but it's not about you being on your own anymore. So what I did, I used classical ballet as a way of teaching computer science. And the reason why we pick classical ballet as opposed to another form of dance is its algorithmic nature. It's if you think of classical ballet, obviously most of the terminology is in French, so it has its own programming language. Most of the motifs, if you look at like the short sections of dance, you could apply to an algorithm, such as like a sorting algorithm or a for loop, and that's how we teach the girls when we do the dances. So we might have a visual image of like a node map, and we're talking about how data transmission works. So for the choreography, what we did is that we, for their positional changes, we just drew node maps. So then we taught them what a node map was and how this works in terms of data transmission. And they were like, oh, that's so much easier. So that was really cool. And Jane saw that on Sunday. But yeah, and then we look at things like some more complex things like abstraction and generalization. So because they obviously aren't doing maybe computer science as an A-level as a subject, we're allowed to kind of, they with them dancing it and going through it all the time, they had this kind of whole kind of more physical memory of what they were learning, and they said actually by the end of it they actually knew it and they thought it was pretty cool. So it's about using non-traditional approaches to teach what would be a very traditional type subject, and using modern technology to make it really exciting. So we have things like wearable technology. So if you want lights on your shoes, you've got to code it, and you've got to stitch it, and you've got to understand like how electricity works, so you can link in other subjects. Understand that the challenges as well. So basically it's just a whole like session of debugging from start to finish. So because like lots of things go not necessarily 100% correct when you're doing wearable technology, and that's really interesting for them because they're like, you know, how, and then you start getting into the kind of with the older students, the like, you know, Ohm's law and all of these other laws where you can link in science and things. And then we looked at, so the data we use a credible amount of data. So we used 100 years worth of rain data, and then we did projection mappings based on those, and we used JavaScript. So they didn't necessarily program; we had someone professional do that, but we could show them what the code looked like, and explained how we're using big data to actually do this this kind of abstraction level from it. And all our code is open source. So if you wanted to actually use the Connect server or anything like that, it's all available on our GitHub and the site here as well. So because what we want people to do is not feel afraid to, you just need one projector, a free bit of software, and you can create, you know, video images inside shapes. So and then you start looking at then the 3D side of it, so you can start bringing in maths and things like that by using another free piece of software. So it's about actually us creating these kind of big productions and then breaking them down into classroom resources. So I take all of the technology or the things that we've done and then apply them into like what would fit into a classroom setting. And then the choreographer is also a ballet instructor and examiner, and she's taken the ballet that we've done and she's leveling some of the ballet classes so you can actually take the motifs and teach them in like a short classroom setting, linked to either some computational terms or linked to a very specific bit of theory that we're looking at. So the first ballet we did looked at debugging, Boolean and binary, algorithms, big data, and then this whole notion of geometric progression in computational thinking. So it's quite interesting. It's very, very different. So because we have such a low, like as Jane was saying in the chat, we have a very, very poor rate of girls going into computer science. So I'm using this kind of hook of, you know, lights on your tutu, and most little girls do ballet, so we could start, you know, introducing them a bit early into the concepts, and also then they won't be as afraid to do computer science.
Yeah,
when they get to level. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think that as soon as students make a connection to computational thinking, computer science in the areas they're most interested in, and then the light goes on. And I think that's why it's key to introduce it earlier, or as early as possible, when they haven't, they don't have those kind of stereotypes already established about what computer science is and programming, and they see the connections to all the things that they like to do anyway, whether it be dance or sports or
yeah, my projection mapping workshop, which I did in London, we had 70% girls, and that absolutely shocked me. So yeah. It's because like that you wouldn't think of this. So the projection mapping is projecting onto 3D objects like these things behind me, and yeah, I know. And I was surprised how, and this was for 13 to 16-year-olds. So I would probably not do it at 13. It was just, obviously, it was run by the Royal Institution. I'd probably do it in years 10 and 11, because just for the complexity of using the software that we were using. We are actually going to rewrite it and get a simpler interface, but obviously that takes a while. But eventually it'll be up there. But there's a whole resource for it on my learning site, so you can just go and follow it. So.
Yeah, it's super interesting. Thanks. So I want to give Shubha, I want to give you a chance to speak too a little bit. So why don't we try? Let's see if we can hear you now. We can't. Oh, unfortunately, we can't hear you. But if you, I know that you had. Put in the questions, you mentioned a little bit about how that in India there's similar challenges around getting girls more interested in computing, computational thinking, and so maybe if someone else wanted to, unfortunately I feel badly we can't hear you, Shubha, but if you wanted to include some comments in the side, but if somebody else wanted to maybe discuss how they might get
But I
more
can,
that particular audience involved. Yeah, and the folks, go ahead in South Africa.
just a question to Genevieve. At what age would you look at introducing computational thinking skills in a school?
As soon as possible.
Isn't it? Okay. I know we've got links.
Yeah, I was actually
I'll tell you this. We've
Yeah.
got links to the UK because we have an exchange program with Bathurst and Millfield in Somerset where we send boys out and reciprocate with boys coming to us. And I know that you start your schooling at a very, very young age.
Yes.
And we're a little later. We started kickoff at 6 years of age when they come to school. But we have what we call our preschoolers, which are younger, so say from about 4 and 5 before they come to school. So would you be looking at computational thinking skills right down at the littlies? I'm talking about, I see you, Jane, I can see your head.
Yes,
That's
definitely.
away there. So yes. You see, I want to take this to my pups teachers. We actually have Selborne pups because we've got a dog. We've got Lord Selborne's
because this is my kind of area of expertise.
Okay, Jane, I'm going to ask you.
We start as soon as they kind of hit us. To be quite honest, it's something that can start at home, and it's a mindset change in that actually we do these things already. We already teach little children to ignore unimportant detail. And so if they say you say, please make me a Play-Doh rabbit, a rabbit out of modelling clay, they think, well, let me look at some other rabbits, and they think, well, is it important that this rabbit is blue and this rabbit is yellow? No, that's not important. It's that it's got these big ears. But maybe there are other animals that have got big ears, so maybe it's to do with the shape of the ears. So they're abstracting, and there are some children who find abstraction very difficult. And as an educator, once you realise that that's one of your tools in your toolkit, then you can give them tasks or activities to help them overcome that barrier. Another one is decomposition. That's just breaking a problem down into steps. You know, how do you put your shoes on in the morning? You know, first I have to remember to take, to put my socks on. So again, it's things that educators naturally do in early years and in kindergarten or whatever we call these very young kind of experiences. And it's just, and I can't remember who it was who said before, it's about taking things that teachers already know what to do and just giving them some new words and giving us a common framework for problem solving, and then a method to talk to other educators and to come up with interventions. So we start them straight away. It's like, it's just a problem. I think Tina was saying as well, it's just a problem solving methodology. It's just a way across the world for us to help children to become more rigorous or to have a better approach to problem solving. So we start straight away. And again, if you look at Barefoot, there are very, very simple activities such as making a Play-Doh rabbit or kind of working out why, if I'm going to make a recipe for milkshakes, why this recipe is better than that recipe. Everything is on the Barefoot website, and it's just called Barefoot CAS. So as in, I haven't got anything on my feet, barefoot, and then computing at schools, and it's on the link.
That's brilliant.
I'm going to stop now. I could go on and on about it.
I'm not going to hog that conversation, but it's fantastic because our foundation phase and junior primaries, the littlies, are always looking for other things to do. And I think just by putting a big word to the actual process, it might be confusing. But as you've explained now, to break it down into these simple little acts, which they are doing already, which we can just implement and then carry on and build on that. So thanks for that, because I'm going to get this down tomorrow and just go and talk to them and explain to them basically what's going on and set them onto these sites. So my little hangout here has been fantastic for my school and my area. I'm also a GEG leader for this area, and I'm going to share a lot of this with my GEG groups within my community. So fantastic, and thanks for that.
Just one thing to follow up. We've done lots of training of teachers across the UK in this, and basically they come in at the beginning, they go, don't like that, words are too hard, and they kind of walk away and go, oh, I do that already. And you can take a lesson plan you already have and go, oh, abstraction, decomposition, generalization, debugging, persistence, collaboration. And they just see that, I think, again, someone said that earlier, that they look at what they already do and then can very quickly translate it into these new things. And it's just about introducing this new vocabulary. So anyway, yeah, I'm really glad about that. And we can talk later if you like online.
Thanks very much, man. I really appreciate it. Thanks. Okay,
You're welcome.
I won't hog the conversation anymore.
Yeah. So just in to add on to that conversation, and Jimmy, let's start with you here because you've seen computational thinking in action a little bit. Have you seen? Can you describe some of the ways that you've seen changes in the student approach to problem solving because of their exposure to computational thinking? Let's see.
Am I audible?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so observation in the classroom is something which I can definitely share with you, subject to my conversations with the teachers, like which I am in a continuing process with them, that how are students taking these concepts. So more often I hear from them is that now students are more processed. They know what comes after what. Otherwise, what they used to do is this, that they were not very organized. Now they know that, yeah, they need to recognize a pattern. And once they recognize the pattern, they are supposed to formulate a system to make it an algorithm. So so they are ready to design design something which can create that pattern for them, and then go back and formulate something which works at their end. So these are the few things which I'm hearing from educators like Shelley. Unfortunately, Shelley is not connected right now. So Shelley would have really shared the strong feed which she got from her 10th graders who have actually implemented this once they were being introduced to this concept in her mathematics class. So this is what she told me, that the kids are actually finding out the solution to one of those fact which was being discussed by a mathematics teacher, and then they took it as a project, and then the problem was actually decomposed and the small part of the problem set was given to one set of kids, and the other part was given to the second set of kids, and then eventually they all collaborated to find out what exactly is the pattern of solution finding to that problem set. So this is what I could hear from Shelley when she was with me a few days back. So I am hoping to have more stories coming in from students, because at this point of time teachers have just absorbed whatever they have undergone under this course, and I'm expecting more inputs coming in from teachers directly on community. So
great. That's thanks for sharing that. And I'm wondering if anybody else wanted to share about
very soon. I think by the end of
sorry, that broke up a little bit there, Jimmy. I'm just wondering if other educators that are on the Hangout would like to share what they've seen with their students who've had some exposure to computational thinking, and have you seen any improvements in problem solving and learning overall?
Shall I have a go?
Sure, go ahead, Jane.
So basically, because now our little children are starting to use the word algorithm, which sounds a little bit crazy that a 7-year-old knows what an algorithm is, but they do. They bring in from home Lego instructions or recipes or anything that they can see that has kind of a list of instructions, and then when they are solving problems in class, they kind of go, is that an algorithm? And then you say, well, have you thought about, is that in the right order? And so you kind of see little children thinking that, because they've got a bit more of a vocabulary now in order to describe what they're doing, and they will ask their friends, is that in the right order? And I spend a lot of time as well trying to teach children about something called initialization, where you have to always think about where you start off. So we use programmable toys called Bebots, or there's all sorts of them. And so again, they think about, well, where does it need to start, and in what direction does it need to start? And then when they are doing other activities, so if they're in DT, so design and technology, or in science, again you go, well, have you thought of everything? And as a teacher, or as I remind myself about that, then they start to nudge their friends and go, have we got everything we need at the start? And it's just really subtle changes in vocabulary and behaviour. It's almost like changing some quite subliminal, I don't know if that's the right word, autonomic processes. So it's interesting to see. It definitely, I think it definitely has an impact, because children are kind of stepping back a little bit to think about how they're solving problems, and that's across the curriculum. So that's me.
Great.
One thing I found actually, because when I first met Jane, I was a secondary educator, so that's kind of 11 to 16, and I went in to basically teach them coding, so they could actually apply it into their classrooms. So it was like Scratch and things like that. And one of the things that I found was how the primary school teachers taught their students made me a better educator in secondary and then eventually in A-level, because they have a much more computational approach to teaching than you would do if you were just a pure kind of secondary or higher. So I think any teacher that doesn't teach primary should go in to primary schools and actually and experience how they teach new topics, and you'll see that whatever subject they're teaching has all the elements of computational thinking. They just hadn't been in the past, but they are now in the UK, actually using the computational terms and applying them across curricula. Because when you get to secondary school, it's very subject and you're very siloed. So you don't. And one of the things that I try to do, and a lot of other educators are trying to do, is use other subject content or cross-curricular projects so that they use the same terminology and the same approach within the subject, so that you get this more relaxed approach. And I've noticed that when I taught, I did robotics to little kids, 5 and 6 year olds. That was I was there, and it was a very simple board, the little crumble board. And they actually found they were one of the things I found, because it wasn't my classroom that I was doing it in, and they actually used all the computational terms just naturally, which was really, really interesting. But especially more the year ones and the little reception students, so they're kind of like 5 and 6, 6 and 7, that kind of thing. So and they just felt very comfortable with it. They weren't afraid of it at all, and that was quite nice to see. I noticed the difference from when I did it quite a few years ago to going back into the same school, obviously with a different year group, but and seeing how much more relaxed the teachers were with it, and how much more kind of experimental they were being with the actual classroom activities, and how the students felt like they could make mistakes quite easily and actually apply a label to it, which was just debugging, and feel like they were learning something as opposed to just feeling like a failure. So that was quite fascinating, actually. But yeah.
Yeah, great. And for Pepe and Sarah, I know that you're somewhat new to computational thinking as a whole. You're new to the course, but just now with the exposure that you've had to the program, do you have any ideas about how you might start implementing some of the things you've learned already? Let's see, you're on mute.
It's not going. Okay.
There you go.
Start. You're there. Great.
There you go.
Okay, Sarah, you're going to talk.
Yeah, it's been absolutely amazing listening to what everybody's had to say, and listening to what you guys are doing in India is absolutely amazing. The way that you're able to reach out and help within the community, it's just taking education that's in the classroom that for us is very much always in the classroom. You don't see much of it happen outside. I would definitely love to start linking with other schools and definitely reaching out to other people and sharing, collaborating. So just on that. But other than that, I think for our staff and for the people here, they need to realize that we are doing it already, and we just need to take it that little step further and start thinking about, and like you said, using the actual terms for computational thinking. We would definitely like to get the younger kids using it. I know the older kids, sometimes it's very difficult with our very tight curriculum. There's not much wiggle room when it comes to introducing new things. But definitely with the younger kids, and we're definitely going to need a lot of ideas and a lot of support from everybody. But yeah.
Mhm. Listen, it's been interesting being able to listen and share. And I think the biggest thing is that you've enthused this group that's here in this little part of the world, and hopefully, as Sarah has said, we'll be able to enthuse others around us within our structure in our community, which then again will sort of move out into other areas. So although it's a small young seed here at this end of the world, it's going to grow, and I can promise you we're going to look into how we can actually apply this within schools around our area and share with others as well.
Yeah, thanks for those thoughts. Vikram, I wanted to ask you this a similar question on how you anticipate. Sorry, how you see those concepts that you've learned in the course or on in the conversation here today, how you envision using some of those in your work with students.
Tina, can you repeat your question? I think you muted yourself in between.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, so I wanted to just ask Vikram how he is thinking about utilizing or incorporating some of the key concepts that have come up during the course or during this conversation or his exposure to computational thinking, how he plans on integrating some of those into his work with students.
Yeah, basically, the day-to-day activities, itself requires a very organized way, organized approach. That's what even for educators, that's what we orient them. So identify the pattern and the sequence. And come out with a systematic approach to solve the problem. That's what.
Great. Let's see. Those were in general the questions I had for the panel today. Are there any parting comments that any of you'd like to share with the rest of the group?
I'd just like to find out more about what's happening with girls and computational thinking. We've had a little bit of a kind of side discussion being going on in the chat rooms and on the chat information. But in the UK, we have a really difficult situation in that very few girls, once they get to the age of around about what we say generally about 13, 14, they basically just drop computing. And in primary, I see my little girls doing their stuff, and I think, oh, you could be a data analyst, you could be a developer, you could be, I can see that they've got all these amazing skills, but suddenly they just decide it's not for them. Is it just a problem in the UK, or is it the same in South Africa? Is it the same in India, or is it too kind of early to call, really, because there hasn't yet been enough of a change or a kind of implementation of things like computational thinking to see if there's a difference? So that's my question. Have you got an answer to my problem?
I haven't got an answer to your problem, but just to let you know that my daughter is into marketing and into design with regard to advertising and that type of thing, and she sits in Johannesburg, has got accounts in Cape Town, and he's working for companies over in the UK as well. So, it's not that girls can't, I think girls can. And I think we possibly, I'm only at an all-boys school, so I think we've got to get our girls' schools a little bit more motivated and get the girls out there, because I'm telling you now, the girls do a very, very good job. And I just see what she's producing and doing, and it's amazing, because she can move around anywhere in South Africa and still be connected to her job and work. So I really think it must be encouraged from the girls' schools. I know that our girls' schools are also when our sister schools are full into the Google Apps for Education, running off iPad. We don't run off iPad, we run off Chromebook. But that encouragement is happening. So from our side, I can see in the future that more girls are going to take up those positions in South Africa, and that is my hope as well.
Yeah.
Oops, sorry.
I went to an all-girls school from when I was little. I'm extremely interested in computer science, anything to do with it at the moment, and it's something that I never ever thought that I'd be able to do. I could barely use Microsoft Word by the time I left matric, and I think it was because nobody allowed a light bulb moment to happen for me. As girls, we constantly look for things like fashion or photography. That's as close as we'll come to using a device or anything like that. And I think it's just because we're convinced that it is a male-dominated scene, which it's absolutely false. And I wish I think it's just introducing points that maybe girls can see themselves actually doing something. And obviously within the classroom, then creating situations and scenarios where they can be exposed to computational thinking and using devices in computer sciences.
And I think that making the connections with what girls are interested in and showing them there is computer science in a lot of those areas, in fashion, in design, in kind of more typical female-dominated areas. There's computer science everywhere, and I think the earlier they learn that, all students learn that, then they understand, especially today, that they can be creators and not just consumers of computer science and computing, and they're not just, they don't have to just be passive and accept the ways that computing is delivered to them. So I think that's kind of the key message too.
But one of the things I wanted to say is that it's not just the kind of, what you were saying, traditional girl, the kind of arts and designs, which have loads of men in it as well. There's actually loads of, a lot of students want to go into medicine and that, so there's loads of biomedical engineering, there's loads of Internet of Things stuff. So you'd be surprised how, and for example, if if they're interested in biology or anything like that, you have to do data modeling. So pretty much everything has computer science in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
even professional sports, when you look at
sports science, everything. Yep.
Yeah, just managing all the data for professional sports teams. Like as soon as you say that to somebody that's their interest, they're like, they most of the time had no idea that if you aren't an athlete, you can't participate in a profession. But there's loads of things that happen that maybe aren't talked about as much. So I think starting the conversation about all of these aspects to get more students interested and keep that interest as well, right? Not just, oh, we did this fun coding thing on this Saturday at the club.
Yeah.
We need to normalize it.
Absolutely.
I would say, they must also understand that it's okay. I mean, I used to play some video games and computer games, but very much in secret, because as a girl here in South Africa, you're almost teased. It's very uncool to, as a female, I don't know, play on computers or deal with anything like that. And my interest was actually sparked through art. I love to paint and do anything like that. And I was introduced to digital art. And obviously with that I had to learn about different devices and different programs and how that worked. And that's just where it all started for me. When I realized that it's actually okay. And I think a lot of little girls are just put into a box, and it's just like, well, that's a boys section, you don't go there. So yeah, to make it more normal, I would say.
But I think that mindset change, or that whole dynamic is changing with regard to the introduction of more IT in our girls' schools. So that is changing in our educational environment here in South Africa.
Yeah. In fact, in India also, I would just like to share that in India also now we do have a lot of programs coming in wherein girls are really keen to take computer sciences as their career as well, because at somewhere or the other everybody really realized that it's now not only one subject, and it's also about the skill set you have. And it's a skill that you really need to imbibe in yourself in whatever career you go into. So that's the kind of mindset we are all working on right now. And the only thing is that programs like these help educators to come over and talk to girls especially, because STEM education, as Vikram says, that really plays a very important role right now in India, and teachers are really keen to invest time. But computer sciences, as incorporated with STEM, comes at very strongly. So we are just trying to do that and bridge technology and girls together.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for all those thoughtful comments. Unfortunately, we're just about out of time, so I just really wanted to thank all of you for participating, and I encourage others who are watching to explore more and collaborate. We have identified a number of resources. We have our computational thinking site and course, and as well as the other resources this group, both Jane and Genevieve, have shared. So I encourage you to continue to collaborate amongst of the group here, but also to encourage and share with one another as well. So we look forward to hearing more about how all of this is going to grow into great successful work. But thanks so much for joining today, and we really appreciate your time and your efforts.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you for joining.